Webinar's live, Chair.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. My name is Councillor Gareth Jones, for those who don't know me, and I have the pleasure of chairing this afternoon's Health and Care Scrutiny Committee in the absence of our normal chair, Amanda. Can we start with any apologies, please?
Yes, certainly, Chair. We've got apologies from Councillor Amanda Jenner and Councillor Halwyn Hume and Emma Palmer, CEO. I know that Councillor Sean Cox needs to leave about 3:30, and hopefully we'll have Josie Ewing joining a little bit later. She's also got other council business that's going on.
Yeah, and I think that also applies to Councillor Little.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Can we move on to the next item, declarations of interest? Can I make one declaration? I'm a trustee of the Built Community Support Group, and that is actually mentioned in the report by Slice on the Built and Noted work they've done on that. Has anybody else got any declarations? No. Item 3, disclosure party whips. Anybody want to disclose a party whip? Good, because I don't know what to do if you did. Can we go on to item 4 then, the minutes of the last meeting held on the 1st of December 23? Can we take them for accuracy to start with? Any of the members want to propose them for accuracy? Chris, thank you. Anybody like to second them? Thank you, Carol. Any matters arising from them? The only issue I've got is whether, sorry, I do apologize, Nina. I've made a terrible error. I just realized this is your first meeting as the official director of social services, isn't it? I do apologize. Can we pass the scrutiny committee's congratulations on to you for that, and I apologize. But can I now ask you to give us an update on the actions that were in the minutes from the last meeting?
Absolutely, and thank you very much. And I'm absolutely thrilled and so pleased to be appointed. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, I'll take you through some of the actions. There's an action for myself to update Health and Care Scrutiny Committee on replacement for WCCIS. I apologize that I haven't given you a formal update, which was my absolute plan when we last met. The reason that I haven't is that things have changed in the interim. So I just wanted to kind of update you today to let you know that work is absolutely ongoing, both internally with Powys County Council, but also working with the national team and with Welsh Government and with directors from across Wales as well in terms of the replacement WCCIS. An options report is being put together at the moment, and I believe by the time we have our next scrutiny committee in April, I'll be able to give you an update, a detailed update on the way forward. So apologies that I haven't given you that update and confirmation to date, but it's because things have changed and we're making sure that we're just adjusting in light of those changes. Is that okay, Chair?
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members have got a comment? No. Yes, Chris.
I'm pleased about that work is going on in the background. It's a question that has come up on a number of occasions now, so I'm glad something's going on. I am aware of some of the issues more broadly, but it's welcomed. And can I also congratulate Nina on her appointment as well?
Oh, thank you, Councillor Chris. And yeah, just to assure you, this is an absolute priority, not just here for us in Powys, but across Wales. So just, and I'll look forward to updating you in more detail at your next meeting. Chair, the next action I can see is for me to seek clarification on an IT query. Let me just cyber issues and the council operating, utilising operators and systems that were no longer supported. I did get an update from the IT team and provided that to your support, but I'm not sure if you've seen that. So I'll just to note briefly that the council does not have operating systems which are as old as Windows 7 or 8. They do have a limited number of operating systems which have recently gone out of active support, but they were all due to be decommissioned by the end of January 2024. So sorry, I got the update a little while ago, but those systems were due to be decommissioned by the end of January 2024, and more detail has been provided, so it will be within your action log. Thank you. Sorry, is there any other actions? I'm just trying to scroll through to see if I've missed any.
There were some actions on page 14, Nina.
Okay, I'll scroll there now, page 14. To review the open referral trends within the monthly service updates. I think we were looking at Q1 for that, so that'll be after April, so we will make sure that that happens. And I think, Rachel, you were going to provide an update. You were asked to provide an update on closure of a care company in Powys. Just noting, obviously, we're in a public session now, but is there anything that would be appropriate to share, or have you provided that update already? Sorry.
No, and my apologies, that hasn't been provided yet. It is in progress, it's work in progress, but what we wanted to do was do a more detailed lessons learned document, which we thought would be more helpful in terms of supporting the wider impact in terms of growing the capacity around our domiciliary care provision going forward. So that is in progress, and I can bring that to the next meeting if that's appropriate.
That would be great. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. And then I think the last one is about the day opportunities engagement review, and to ensure that's on your forward work programme to be brought to you as an item moving forward, and just to absolutely confirm that, of course, will be happening. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. Any members got any issues on the minutes before we go to the next meeting? Next item? I take silence as good. The next item is the update on the Joint Scrutiny Working Group on Leisure Services. For members, you remember about this time last year, might have been April, each of the scrutiny committees were asked to nominate a couple of representatives to work with Jenny Ashton, Councillor Selby, and other officers on the Leisure Service Review. I put myself forward for that group, and I ended up being the lead member on that group. And I think we met, I don't know how many times we met. Jenny's about 7 or 8 times we met between May and January. It took us a little while. You've got the papers, but I think I need to say it took members a little while to get their head around what their role in this piece of work was. I think some of us thought we were there to scrutinise proposals of future leisure service delivery, and not to scrutinise the processes that was followed to actually collect the data. And I think once we got our heads around that, I think it's fair to say we were provided with an awful lot of information across leisure services. Officers also did a survey, questionnaire survey, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny, I think it was over 3,000 responses to that survey.
That's correct, Chair.
Yeah, and I think that's about the biggest one Powys has ever had in anything. And I think the one thing I want to say from this aspect is, as members, we were given we gained a great level of assurance around the process that was being followed. And we actually did quite a deep dive in some information around one of the leisure centres, and we chose a leisure centre in Ostragunlis, not because it was in Ostragunlis, but because there wasn't a member on the working group from that area, and we wanted to show that we were being independent. But once we went into that deep dive in that, we got the assurance that each of the other centres were being analysed on a fair and consistent basis. You've got the conclusions there. That there are some aspects that we'd like a little bit more information as this work progresses. But I think to start with, we just need to say, yeah, we are happy with the process that being followed. And it's clearly a service that is very well appreciated by the members of Powys. As part of the review, we also had presentations from some non-freedom leisure provision in the authority. Kirkcaldy High School, for example, runs its own leisure services to a lesser extent, and we had a presentation from the manager there, and then we also had a presentation or discussion from one of the trustees of ANY, who just to look at different alternative methods of delivery. You see our report in the papers. I don't want to go into any great detail around this paper because I think the most important aspect of today's meetings is later on. But happy to answer any questions if you want to add anything, Jenny or Councillor Selby.
Not
Yes.
for me, thank you, Chair.
Yes, David. Councillor Selby.
Apologies.
Sorry.
Sorry, I don't like speaking from behind a black box, but I've given up on telling the computer what to do this afternoon, and I've finally made it. Could I just say, Gareth, for you, that from my perspective, the scrutiny was a very successful exercise. It was conducted in a very positive way, and I think I learned a lot through the process, and I'm sure everybody involved did. And with acceptance of the recommendation, your comments, I accept completely that we need to provide. There's always more information you can often get. In this particular case, understand why it's needed, and you'll be provided with it.
Great. Any questions from any other members? Yes, Chris.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered, I mean, obviously, I know that this is early stage in some of this process, and you mentioned about the significant amount of data that you had been able to have a look at. And there probably will be more questions as things start to develop and come out. But I just wondered whether you'd looked as a part of your process on the impacts of decision making in relation to people's well-being going forward, and whether that had been taken into consideration as a part of your process that you were doing to ensure that the review was done in an equitable way, if that's the right way to phrase it.
I think it'd be fair to say we touched on it, Chris, but it was quite a light touch. Okay. And I recognize that we didn't have the input into the review from colleagues from adult services and children's services around the welfare benefits of people using the leisure facilities. But I'm hoping that will be part of the next steps as well, part of the information again. You know, Jenny shared with us some information around the provision that the centres are providing in each of those areas, but it was a little bit, there's not a consistent provision across the authority around wellbeing classes, but you need to recognise that all leisure services is a wellbeing session in effect, and it's how you expanded that as well. And perhaps there is a piece of work around looking at that wellbeing benefit of use of leisure services, but also use of the paths and bridleways in the county as well, and extending that to the external leisure as well.
It's also for me around process is about, if we do something, where's the consequence elsewhere in the system? And looking at then the relationship between key partners, and that's the other aspect to it, and that on there, but just to feed that in, so it's there for people to take on board.
And I don't know whether Councillor David or Jenny wants to discuss what the next steps are. And obviously, this will be no part of the Sustainable Powers process that the authority has started to look at.
Yeah, it could certainly be a pillar within that.
Yeah.
To consider. Yeah.
Did I see your hand go up fleetingly, Councillor David?
Mostly for the right hand twitch, but I was thinking, no, I mean, in terms of the next steps, that we're part of the Sustainable Powers process, and in my view, a very important part of the process. So the next stage is how the whole link in. Could I just, in passing, and it may have been said earlier on, I don't know, say that I certainly regard leisure services being part of the social services, broader social services, as a very positive thing. It helps on the answer to Chris's last question. It makes it much clearer that leisure services is about well-being and is well-being in many ways. And Sustainable Powers, of course, is all about ways in which you're stitching the services together in a different way, and what all the work that Jenny and the team have done is providing the data to make informed decisions, and that's the next step, is linking in with those and eventually getting to decisions.
Yeah, especially around a preventative agenda.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, speaking as somebody who's lost 7% of his body weight in the last week, only because I've had man flu. But yeah, right. Any other questions, comments from members? No. Can we go on to the next item then, which is the Corporate Safeguarding Board Activity Report? This has already gone to Governance and Audit a week today and Cabinet. So Nina, do you want to give us a brief update?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll keep it very brief. I know you've got a very full agenda this afternoon. So in front of you is just an activity report update from the Corporate Safeguarding Board that was held on the 14th of December. I'll just take you briefly through the report. We reviewed progress against actions on the Safeguarding Regulatory Tracker, which we do at every meeting. All of the actions were either blue, which means completed, or green, which means on track. So good progress was being made against those actions. We received a Regional Safeguarding Board annual report and had a discussion around that. Just to highlight within that report, Powys County Council's safeguarding work, especially the Powys Child Exploitation Strategy work, was noted, and of course the accolades that we have received around that work as well. Feedback on the National Safeguarding Week, which was held in November as well, was discussed. As you will recall, Powys hosted the annual Safeguarding Conference, which was very well received as well. And there was a really good discussion at the board around the various presentations and speakers, and thanks were extended to everybody who'd been involved with organising and running that day and that event. One of the main items we discussed at the board was child performance licensing and child work permits progress update. So we had a report outlining the details, and we were looking at it's highlighted it's been a spotlight on safeguarding focus that has gone out to everybody as well, and we've included some details within the notes for you. Next steps include some awareness raising and communications about where the regulations apply, and also the board were noted that there's joint work ongoing with the Royal Welsh Show, etc., and we'll be having more information about that at a future meeting too. We received a safeguarding vlog, and the links are included in your report as well. An important resource, myth busting as well around safeguarding, and a real problem solving resource. So any comments on those we'd be really grateful to receive. We also had a report on education safeguarding as well. Reports by exception we received from housing. There was quite a good discussion around the number of 16 and 17-year-olds who've become homeless and how that had increased. So the reasons for this was discussed at the meeting, and data showing homelessness of Powys care experience young people is now going to be included in future reports, because we see that as an area that we want to keep a careful eye on and make sure we can keep a progress check on that. We discussed the demand on housing, complexity of work and temporary accommodation, etc. And at that time as well, there was a Welsh Government consultation ongoing. Within education, we discussed elective home educated children and how contact with children and their families had increased from 2% to 72% within the last year, which is obviously a very significant increase and improvement. So a good discussion was held around that. We also discussed in detail reasons for why children were becoming electively home educated and the increasing number of those who've never attended mainstream and the reasons for that. The board were also informed that Powys are taking part in a children missing education pilot, and that's something we're going to be regularly updated on moving forward as well. Fixed term exclusions continuing to increase, which mirrors the Welsh and the UK picture. And we're looking at the exclusions and which age groups are in, the reasons, etc. The most common reason for your information was persistent disruption. And we were also informed that there's a working group of head teachers that's going to put in place a common approach as well. Again, something we'll be looking at in future meetings. We looked at mandatory safeguarding training, including Voucher SV. Pleased to note compliance was at 92.3%. A special mention was made to HTR, who've achieved 97%, which was excellent. There were some concerns raised around some of the compliance in the school areas, and so this is an area of focus and targeted work following the final meeting, and we're picking that up again at our next meeting to keep an eye on that as well. Adult social care report as well was given. We looked at trends, etc. And children's also, we had an update about the joint inspection of child protection arrangements, or JICPA. And just to note, obviously, as a committee, you'll be having a full report on that and discussion on that at your next meeting. The action plan for that is currently being finalised as well, but that was, we've received that since our last meeting as well. Future agenda items included for your information, and next meeting is on the 14th of March, so in a couple of days' time. The annual report in English and Welsh was received by the board, and also the quarterly update from the Regional Safeguarding Board. And I think that's a very quick highlight, if that's okay, Chair.
Thank you. Any question, members? I've got a couple of points, Nina, on section 2.8.
Yep.
B, where you've got all the percentages shown. If it's not too sensitive, it'd be good to show the number of children actually home educated. So you could actually work, so we could do the percentage figures.
Okay, you like the actual numbers as well.
So I apologize, I'm a data geek.
No, that's fantastic. I'm happy to take that as a ways in action. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, apologies, Chair, but happy to look at that, yes.
I wouldn't expect you to. And the other one around compliance on mandatory safeguarding, and you mentioned schools.
Yep.
Just remember that each of the county councillors are most likely local authority governors on the governing body. So if there's a school that's causing you problems, please liaise with I've got a name, Beth Groves, who's a governor's officer, and use us to give a kick if needed.
No, thank you, Chair. And this is going to be an item that we are focusing on next week as well at our board meeting. So we're getting an update from the school service at the moment, and I think that's a really timely reminder as well about local authority appointed governors on boards, many of which, of course, will be local councillors as well. So thank you for that. That's a really good point, and I'll take that away. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Liz.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Nina, my question is just a bit of a follow-up on the percentage questions that Gareth asked about elective home education. I just wondered if you could just give a bit of a flavour of why people are making the choices to educate at home, because I know, often it can be a very positive, thing depending on, the individual child, but might be helpful to just give a flavour of what those reasons were that came through in the Corporate Safeguarding Board.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Liz. casting my mind back now to December, and I know Sharon Powell's here as well, so she might be able to add a few things.
Probably, yeah.
But there's a real range of reasons why people and families choose to home educate their children. Disruption, sometimes some young people, perhaps that's not the best environment for them. There could be religious reasons, there could be medical reasons, there could be sporting reasons even, perhaps, isn't there? So there's a whole range of reasons. But Sharon, can you recall the conversation and any other details?
Yeah,
If
no,
not, sorry,
yeah,
Sharon.
no, that's fine. Yeah, I think Councillor Liz, like Nina said, there's a whole range of reasons, and I think what has happened is, because of the pandemic and schools obviously being closed during that time, it almost gave parents a kind of different way of looking at education through a different lens. So I therefore think when schools then reopened, there were lots of conversations with children, parents about not probably wanting to go back to school for a whole host of reasons, and parents actually thinking, well, I've really enjoyed my time in lockdown, I've been able to do X, Y, and Z, and thinking then they can actually successfully home educate children at home too. So I think it's a multitude of those kind of layers of just, I guess, flexibility in one way from a parent's perspective. But yeah, there's a whole host of reasons.
Yeah, no, I guess so. But I mean, it sort of offers a level of diversity, doesn't it? Opportunity for people. And it is sort of monitored closely. So, you know, there's good oversight of what, you know, the standard of education is with the new arrangements through Welsh Government. But yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Liz.
Do you want to, are you coming to stay on this point, Gareth, or shall I move
Well,
on?
I was actually going to make a point linked to it, yeah.
Carry on, yeah.
Yeah, and it's in the news this morning about the number of children who have got excessive absences from schools. And I think this point that Sharon made about this change of lifestyle post-pandemic, and parents are thinking, okay, there's something on in the family, we'll go to that instead of Johnny going to school today. So it's a change of lifestyle, I think. Sorry, Liz, you're going to make another point.
No, it was just in relation to point 4 or paragraph 4 in the safeguarding report. I just wanted to clarify my understanding of that, which I think is that when there are safeguarding referrals about care home staff, that sometimes they don't meet the threshold for safeguarding investigation. But I just wanted to confirm that those issues are noted down and they are taken up with the provider, you know, when they are a sort of lower level, so that, you know, they're checked and followed up, basically.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Liz. Chair, would it be all right if I asked Rachel Evans to come in and answer the detail on this point?
Yeah, certainly, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look at every safeguarding referral. I mean, ordinarily it would go into the safeguarding team who would scrutinise that to understand the circumstances and the level of that situation. And sometimes it isn't actually in relation to safeguarding, but there may be issues or there may be circumstances that have, you know, resulted in that notification being made. In those instances, as part of our role and in terms of contract monitoring, we may go in and undertake a monitoring visit, have a conversation with the care home. We would also have what's called a joint information monitoring panel, where we would share information with Powys Teaching Health Board, CIW, and really get to understand some of the circumstances around that care home. And it could be a range of all sorts of reasons. Sometimes we see issues between individual residents, which sometimes can result in a safeguarding referral, but everything is looked at and everything is scrutinised, and one of the reasons for that is to try and understand some patterns and trends, not only just within the care home, but within maybe a selection of care homes, and whether there's a more of a training issue that we might need to pick up. So absolutely, we respond to every piece of information that comes in, as it's part of our collective intelligence.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. The only other point I wanted to just make, and it's just a quick one. I was really pleased to say that in 2026, that we'll probably be hosting the National Safeguarding event again, which from all accounts was an excellent event. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nina and Rachel.
Councillor Chris.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Nina, you had heard this question before, but I'm going to say it because I think it's important to get it in this committee because it's relevant here as well. It's to do with page 29 of the report, and there is a paragraph just above point 3 of that report. It says about the WSCIS system being downtime and slowness, and then some reduced ability of staff to complete paperwork because of the need to prioritise the direct care provision. And the ability then to sign off assessments. I just want to gain the assurances that obviously this has been picked up within our risk register, but paperwork was completed by those staff, because if it's not recorded, it didn't happen, and that then puts at risk not only children, which is significant, but also our teams as well. So just to have that assurance that this has been addressed.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Councillor Chris. And as you say, it's a really important issue to make sure that we're flagging within all the appropriate meetings as well. I'm sorry, gosh, my mind's just gone completely blank. I'm talking about WCSS. Sorry. I was going to say, I've got both Sharon Fruin and Sharon Powell here today, who are the heads of service for adults and children. So I think it'd be appropriate for them to give the assurance, etc., on the paperwork and the catching up side, etc. But that's what I wanted to say, is just to absolutely assure you that this has been reflected within our risk register and the kind of rating around this, etc. So just to that link and that link with the risk register, strategic risk register, is there. So thank you. I'm happy to provide that insurance. And then Councillor, if I may ask Sharon Fruin and Sharon Powell to confirm about the work. Thank you.
Going to go first, Sharon Fruin.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, absolutely echo Nina's comments there. I can absolutely give assurances that the teams do complete the paperwork. We'll have a notification often of downtime or any issues, even if they're unknown down periods. I will get an email flagging that the system is down. I'll make contact with the relevant senior managers and team managers to make sure that they're reverting back to their paper processes, and then we support with additional administrative support if needed to get those then uploaded onto the system when it's up and running. I hope that gives the assurances needed.
Thank you. Anything you want to add, Sharon?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think for me, I think Councillor Chris, you're absolutely right. It is a risk, and it is a considerable risk if the system has its downtime, when the system has its downtime, and for the length of time it has its downtime. So that does remain an ongoing risk. It's been down this week as an example, and been quite complicated in the sense of when it is down, you can't input onto the system. But to assure you that when it is down, you can do read-only documentation. So everything is visible to read, but it just means you can't input onto the system. That causes in itself challenges in terms of practice for practitioners, in terms of if they've blocked out time in their diaries to complete that kind of recording, and then we get a notification at short notice saying the system's going down. That can cause and create challenges, but it isn't that children are not seen. It isn't that recording doesn't happen. It just means the timeliness of that maybe isn't as slick as we would like it to be. So we generally do get those notifications, but often they can be at short notice. And one of the kind of continuing risks is that as the system is in a way going to become less what's the word, in terms of less operational, because we're going to be moving to a new system, there is a likelihood that the system in itself is probably going to have more downtime at different times. So we're very acutely aware of the risk. It is cited on the risk register. It's something that we monitor week on week. But in terms of assuring yourselves, it isn't that children are not seen. It isn't that those recordings don't happen. It's just that we have to kind of facilitate that recording in a different way at different juncture points. But I think you're absolutely right to raise it at this forum.
Okay, thank you. You're on mute, Gareth.
So between my cough and a dog barking, I try to put myself on mute on occasions. Are you happy with that, Chris?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've picked it up in other arenas, but I haven't picked it up here in relation to the specific report. I am assured on it, but as I say, if it's not documented, it didn't happen, and I'm assured that it does happen. So that's helpful, and I understand the challenges of the system. I have some familiarity with it, so yes.
Right. We happy to move on, members? Good. Can we go on to item 7, which is the council's response to the Llais engagement reports? I don't want to spend too long on this item because I think we've got some important items we need to move on to. Does any members have any comments that we could ask officers feedback to Llais if required? The only comment I would make, sorry,
Gareth, the only just a point I'd like to make, sort of in terms of feedback, is I just wonder if when the Director of Social Services has an opportunity to just ask the question about the age range of the people, the average age range of the people that were involved in the feedback and the focus groups and sessions, because it seemed to be something like 78, with the oldest person being 92 and the youngest being 25. And it'd just be helpful to know what the organisation are doing in terms of engaging, younger people in a preventative stance with the work that they're doing, so we understand what they want.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Liz. I think it's really a good challenge and comment back. I mean, I've just got the BILF section open on my screen at the moment, and as you say, like the average age of people sharing their views is 76. The youngest was 25, and the oldest was 101. So I will absolutely take an action away. Just to inform you, as a committee, I meet with Katie Blackburn, the Regional Director of Llais. I think it's fortnightly. So I'll add this to our next meeting agenda as an item for discussion and ask for feedback on what Llais may be considering in the future to try and reach a wider age group and more younger, absolutely. So absolutely, I'll take that back as a question. Thank you, Councillor Liz.
Could I also ask you then, Nina, to suggest to them that we have got the community councils and town councils across powers, and perhaps when they're going to do a review into an area, they could actually contact the clerk just to let them know what's happening, so they could use their own network. And I'm a clerk to Aberystwyth Community Council, and I don't think I had anything around the BILF review. And the BILF review seems to be very much BILF or Llanwrtyd orientated.
Okay,
I know that's where most of the services delivered from, but that type of thing. Did you want to come in on that, Chris, at all?
Sure. I was going from one document to another. My main issue, and I've flagged this up previously, was in relation to some of the commentary that we provide back to Llais, and in some ways I found that if we've got a delay in services, by us offering an apology up front can sometimes diffuse further escalation of those events. So the first one, I think there was a delay of 2 months in someone getting a care package put in place. I take on board and understand that we may not have all of those details, and it may not be with us. But I think if I take from the NHS now, we use the duty of candour, which is where we admit things up front, and what that does is it can de-escalate a situation, bringing in other litigation and other complaints, taking valuable management time out of the system. So I throw it in there as a suggestion rather than anything else. So it's there to see whether it would be useful to those teams and managers dealing with those type of issues.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Chris, and thank you for that feedback and comment. I will take that on board and take that back to the team as well. I mean, as you point out, these are comments that have been made to Llais as an organisation, and that we're having then. We've got no details of the individuals or the cases, and quite often we're unclear whether the concerns and the issues raised relate to us or health, for example. So, and I know you appreciate that, absolutely. But I will take that back to the team as well, that perhaps, you know, as you say, is simple, I'm sorry that the service you were hoping to wasn't as expected, or something, isn't it? Just some kind of something like that can make a difference to people. So thank you for that comment, and I will take that back.
Thank you.
Yes, Sharon.
I was just going to echo what Nina was saying, really, Councillor Chris, that I absolutely agree with you. If somebody's had to contact us because they're dissatisfied, I think the first thing we should do is acknowledge how they're feeling, and actually, you know, say, I'm sorry that you've had to contact us, and I'm sorry that, you know, it's caused you distress. And then we can look into the details and provide them with accurate information, and have that conversation on if there are improvements to be made, how we're going to make those. But initially, actually just acknowledging the fact that they're unhappy or dissatisfied or distressed is paramount, I think.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Is everybody happy with that? Can we move on to the next item, which is the work programme?
Chair, could I
Sorry,
just make a
Nina.
final comment, if that's
Yeah,
all right?
sorry.
I would just say, obviously, this is a work in progress between Llais and ourselves at the moment. We're still less than 12 months into kind of working with Llais as an organisation. If the committee were so minded, it could be really helpful at a future meeting to invite Llais to join us and to have a discussion about how things have been working, and if there's any of areas we'd like to improve, etc. So I just wanted to offer that as a potential future agenda item for the committee, if I may.
Yeah, thank you. And hopefully Kath or Rachel are making a note of that. Can we then go on to work programme before we go into the exempt items? We've got the work programme proposed there. I've only got one suggested change, and that I was concerned last year that we didn't get as a committee, we didn't get the financial outturn figures for the 22-23 year, or if we did, I missed them. So I'd like to propose that we actually put that subject to agreement with finance for the May meeting. And perhaps if you're allowing myself as vice chair and Amanda's chair to discuss any other items that go in the agendas with Nina and other officers, if that's all right. Happy?
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm going to have to take some advice from Kath. Do I have to read all this out, Kath, for the exemption?
You can do. It is noted on the form, Chair, and then we just need a proposer and a seconder to move into confidential session.
Yeah, so can I just take a proposer and seconder then?
You can take it as read if you want.
Okay, can I propose?
If we can have another member.
Okay, yeah, Liz is proposing, Chris and seconding. Are we all happy? Okay, right. Do you want to do what you've got to do now then, Kath and Rachel, to put us into the confidential mode?
Yes, just bear with me 1 second.
Thank you. I think they're going to make sure that